celebrity TV host, million-dollar entrepreneur, and renowned health and fitness superstar, Forbes Riley. A familiar face from TV, as well as one of today's most sought-after female motivational speakers today. You'll connect with some of the top experts in health and fitness, business, and personal development, as well as some surprise celebrities, all sharing their insight, tips, and tricks to finding true happiness. Now, here's your host, Forbes Riley.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Forbes Factor. We focus on health, wealth, and happiness, and it is my favorite hour of the week. I love doing this. All right, so today's topic is a little bit about communication. Now, there's a little known fact people don't necessarily know about me. I have a face for radio. I do. I also have a face for television. Hopefully, that's been my entire career. But somewhere along the way, I had the most interesting opportunity. And I don't know, for those of you who are stuck in a job for real, you got one job and you stay with it your entire life, you're missing out on some of the fun craziness about life where you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. Well, I've never really had a specific job. I've jobbed in and out and done all kind of crazy things as an actress, as a TV host, and it's been an extraordinary journey. Well, one day, my agent calls and says, you have an audition to be a DJ, a VJ at one of the biggest radio stations called Westwood One Entertainment. And I asked her, I'm like, I don't really know much. She's like, it's to interview classic rock stars. I'm like, you're kidding me. She said, no, I think you'd be great at this. I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm sure there's DJs who are so much more qualified. And she said, yeah, but you have this naive quality about you that I think would be fun. So I go into this meeting and I book the job. Now, for those of you who love radio history, it used to be called Off the Record with Mary Turner. It was a hit show for 15 years on Westwood One. And they were she was going to get married to the CEO of the company, actually. And they gave this to me. And I just want to share a couple things because hopefully our guests will get a kick out of some of these. I love music, but I don't necessarily hear very well. So I don't hear lyrics all that well. I don't key into bands. I love rhythms, and I was a dancer. So I'm now in a room, and I think they liked it because I didn't know who they were. I'm sitting there with Steely Dan. I got Walter Becker in front of me, and I said to him quite naively, how did you come up with the name of your band? And he laughed. He said, oh, ho, you were sure you've heard the story? Steely Dan is named for a steel dildo. Oh, no, I didn't know that. And I will tell you, from there on, I chose never to do any research on my guests because they were like the world's most famous bands and everybody knows all about them. But imagine if you'd never heard of them and asked beautiful, naive questions. And I asked probably the most naive. The show is a raging success, and I owe a lot to my unending curiosity. Well, I've been fascinated with radio ever since, and my next guest has got some very interesting qualifications. And I don't know if you guys have heard iRadio USA, but I want you to meet the founder, a veteran broadcaster, Mr. Eric Martin Koppelman. Eric, come on, get your butt up here.
I got to tell you, if you would have told me last week that I would be talking to Forbes Riley this week, I would have said you were out of your mind because I got to tell you, Forbes, I was traveling across the country and I heard a Jack Mize interview with you, and I have been attracted. I've listened to so much crap over the years of people that are trying to motivate people and trying to bring people, and make them understand what life is about and struggles are about and selling is about. And I was with you for the whole entire trip from California to New York. It was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I couldn't get enough of you, and I am honored to be here today. Thank you.
You are my new best friend. I love hearing that. And it's funny. I certainly did not set out to motivate anybody. I tell stories about being an ugly, awkward little girl who had a broken nose and braces and a tongue stretcher I couldn't talk for 2 years of my life, and really coming to understand at this side of the coin that if you've lived this life and you've been around here that long, you just by standing up, you become this role model because you've done things, right? And I'm sure you've experienced that as well.
Absolutely.
You don't realize who you impact. In fact, one of my favorite stories lately is I was doing Clubhouse. Remember Clubhouse?
Yes.
Clubhouse was one of my favorite apps because as a woman, I just don't have to put on makeup and I can show up. And there was something fantastic about that as opposed to on-camera summits. And if you're not a woman, you don't understand the hour involved in the hair, the lashes, the nails, the blah, blah, blah. And I know Forbes, you look good without makeup on. Nobody looks good. Even Pamela Anderson doesn't look good with makeup. I'm just sorry, I don't know why that is, but girl, it's not cutting it. And I get a little ping to come into a private room with Patrick Starr. And just like you were, kind of fangirling me a little bit, well, I was fangirling. I know all about Patrick. I've never met him. He's got 4 million followers on Instagram, big makeup tutorial guy. And I'm like, you want to talk to me? Okay. We get into the room and I was floored. He said, Forbes, I have to tell you something. I've been dying to do this for 10 years. I'm like, what? He said, I heard a speech that you gave 10 years ago in Tampa. I believe it was one of your first speeches about pitching. I was a 15-year-old Filipino boy in high heel shoes. You gave me permission to be myself, and I think about you and your pitch every day, and now my company is worth almost $1 billion. Thank you.
Absolutely. 100%. That's the beautiful thing. What I heard when I was listening to the Queen of Pitch is like, we tend on doing things a certain way. And when somebody, and we can, I've been doing this since like 2005, and all of a sudden, just listening to you and hearing what you had to say, something went off in my head and said, that just makes sense. And I was actually writing things down as I'm traveling down Route 70 in Colorado and, reading them back and when I got done, I'm calling people and you got to listen to this woman. She's just amazing. And, you say fanning, but it's like, I got to tell you, it's just, it really is. I'm starstruck because it's an honor to be here today. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, you just made me want to promote the heck out of this show. I'll tell you that. And it's, well, it's funny. I gave a motivational speech up here in New Hampshire today. I'm on my way back home through Boston. And when I get to see the faces of the people that I touch, I do a lot of live events. I am saddened, deeply saddened by meeting people who are at a certain age. This one woman was turning 60. And when I brought her on stage in front of only like 200 people, she's like, I'm sweating and I'm so nervous. And I'm like looking at you going, don't you at some age just not care anymore? Why are you still carrying this bullshit about who cares, 200 people that you'll never see again? And I'm looking at her as I look at so many people who are living out something that happened in their past. Somebody bullied them in high school, something sexual traumatized. It doesn't matter where and when it happened, but it's not happening now. It happened decades ago. In fact, I had a client. I'm now teaching this because I hate people suffering. And I love the status that I've gotten to, but there's so much more help to be done. One woman comes to me, she's the CEO of a raging new company. They're going to fire her. Why? Because she can't present the quarterly stuff. She can't give speeches. She said, Forbes, every time I get up there, I literally want to crumble. We conclude that she was in 2nd grade, 7 years old, gets up to do a book report. She accidentally gets so nervous she peed on herself. The classmates laughed at her. Her teacher didn't help her. And she made a decision at that moment that said, I am never going to speak in front of people. She forgot she made that decision. 40 years later, she's going to get fired because of that, and she didn't even know it was there. We do a little hocus pocus on that, make it go away, and I'll tell you what, she's thriving.
There you go.
But I see that in people all the time. Do you know what I'm looking at? That look where they're like, don't you wish you could connect their pieces for them?
It's like when you're interviewing somebody and they go, are you going to give me the questions in advance? Because I'm really nervous here. And I go, nope, I'm not giving you any questions. We're just going to have a normal conversation between two people. And it always works out. It always works out. And I hear what you're saying, because I get a lot of people that are like, oh my God, you're going to put this on the air. I'm nervous. I'm going to make a mistake. I've got, hey, listen, if we make a mistake, we're all human. I make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. But the bottom line is just be yourself. Just be yourself, relax, and have a good time with it. And that's what you say. Have a good time with it. There you go.
Now, what did you do before this?
Well, first off, I was in the military. I was a combat medic with the United States Marine Corps. And then from there, I was with New York City. I was a medic in New York City back in the early 80s. From there, we were doing a cardiac call one time. We had a patient, and the father of this patient that I was helping out was an executive with CBS. And he says, what's your name? And I said, my name is Eric. He says, well, you got a really great radio voice. He said, give me a call. And that just clicked in my head that I wanted to do this. And I started to look into the job opportunities of being a DJ. And I was talking to a guy by the name of Bill Powers. Bill's here at 96.1. And I got to be a guest DJ for a day on 96.1 one time. And I said, Bill, you think they'll hire me? He goes, why the hell would you want to work here? He goes, you're doing such a great thing. You started iRadio USA. You got 495 FM. You got a great voice. Go out and do it on your own. And that's exactly what we did. My wife is actually a law enforcement officer. And she agreed. She was my biggest supporter. She agreed to allow us to convert what was her grandfather's party room in this house to a studio. And we started something called Linda and the DJ. And that was back in the day when streaming wasn't streaming. You couldn't, it was like people couldn't hear you. They couldn't see you. We would fight all the time about how to adjust the board. And it was just like Linda and the DJ became so popular that we had Martin, who's now 15, in the studio, and we were known all over the country, all over the world. We got married streaming on the streaming back in then when you had Meerkat and all these other things. And it just went from there. We started iRadio USA. Linda and the DJ, by the way, the tagline was, "She's happily married, just ask him." And I played a character. Because what I would say to Linda, I'd say, "Hey, Linda, I found an article today that I want to talk to you about. I'm going to help you with your anger problem." And she'd look at me and she'd go, "Eric, you are my anger problem." And people loved it. They loved the back and forth that we would have, and it just took off. And I'm actually the safety director of a major transportation company here on Long Island, and we travel with the coach buses and the limos, and that's what I was doing in California. I flew out to California to bring a stretch limo back to New York, and I said, while I'm going to listen to Forbes Riley, and that's what I did. So we got.
Where in Long Island? Where in Long Island are you?
Well, I know, we're right near Oceanside High School. I'm kidding. I see. I've done my.
Which happens to be guys, but
no,
I know you did.
I'm in Hauppauge. I'm in Hauppauge, Long Island. Grew up in Kings Park, and I'm in Hauppauge.
In 1970 something, I was Miss Teenage Long Island, became Miss Teenage New York, and went to the Miss Teenage America pageant, talking a whole lot like my family did.
Was that you? No. No, I know. You say I graduated in 78, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. So that's great.
Yeah, all right, we're the same age. Which, by the way, doesn't it seem to go rather fast when you look back upon it?
I said that the other day. I said, what was funny was somebody was asking me, "Eric, how old are you?" And I always said, "I'm 62." And then I realized, wait a second, I'm going to be 64 in November. 64? And then I get people telling me, "Well, don't worry about it. You got 20 years left." I'm like, I don't want 20 years left. I want more than 20 years left. It's like, just, yes, it goes faster. In answer to your question, it seems like it goes very fast. Absolutely.
There is a joy to hanging out with our contemporaries who are all born in that era, because we're all feeling it together. My children who are 21 have no idea what I'm talking about. You're old when you're 40, which doesn't make me feel very good. I'm like, really? That sucks. But there is an interesting, I almost want to have like this 60-year-old mind map, mind mastermind. Let's just talk about how it feels. Let's reminisce about the Monkees and the Beatles, and when times were simpler, and lyrics with "I think I love you, not I want to screw you."
Yes, absolutely.
Like, can you imagine back just how things have just shifted? Oh my gosh. What do you want your legacy to be, my friend?
What do I want my legacy to be?
Yeah.
My legacy. You know what? I want my legacy to be that I was a really great father, grandfather, and husband, and to let people know that growing up as an only child, I always wished for a brother and a sister. And between Linda and I could say, yeah, I want to be a really great DJ, but at the end of it all, I want people to say, no, he was a really great father. He was a really great, grandfather, really a great grandfather, and a really great husband. That's what I would like my legacy to be.
How did you meet Linda?
I was on a site called Match.com.
Oh no! Really?
Yeah. And I saw, and when Linda's picture came up, I could see that she was wearing, she was like in uniform. So it was like, hit the button, right? So I sent her a note. We were noting back and forth, and I sent her a note, and she said to call her. So the next day I called her. She didn't answer. She admits that she didn't answer. And I called her again, and she said, I said, "Hi, my name is Eric." And she said, "Hi, I'm Linda." I said, "Where are you?" She says, "We're at the land of make-believe." I said, "Really? What are you doing in my bedroom?" And no laugh, not a laugh, nothing, not
I laughed at that one.
Not a laugh, right? Nothing. And then, so anyway, she said, "I'm with my children." And I said, "Okay, why don't we meet at the Hauppauge Diner up the road, the Palace Diner up here in Hauppauge?" And I went to the diner. I was supposed to meet her. And this girl walks in. I had told the owner who knew me, he knew me. And I said, I'm here to meet somebody. So this other girl walks in, and she's got black hair, and I'm looking for a blonde with blue eyes, right? Well, the owner sits this girl and we look at each other. I go, "You're not Linda." And she goes, "No, you're not Paul." And I said, "No, wrong people." So she gets up off the table. I go, "Great. Linda's going to walk in, see me with this other girl, and think I'm some freak or something like that."
Well,
anyway,
that's funny.
She comes in, she sits down, and she orders, I think it was a tuna wrap. If I want to make, I'm ordering like nothing, but because I'm nervous as hell. And she just chowed down. I like this girl. We met, and we have, between the two of us, we have what I like to call the Brady Bunch from hell, but they're actually really good kids. We have 9. Our youngest,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we have 9. My oldest is 42, and Martin is turning 15 in November. and Martin is combined. That's Linda and I. So Linda and my kids are the best thing that ever happened to me. They truly are.
I just got absolute chills over my entire body. I don't think it's the air conditioning. I think it's the preciousness of that story.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm being sincere. A lot of people, oh, he's full of crap. No, I'm being true. My kids, my wife, and they might not even know that. They may not even know that because they see Eric as a workhorse and somebody that, just does what he has to do to, make things happen. And no, but in all seriousness, without Linda, I don't know. My life would be totally different. She is my soul, and I love her.
I love the heart behind that. I love all my listeners hearing that it's possible. I have a bunch of female friends lately and students and clients who are single and don't want to be. And as we're looking to get them in the right mindset to be available, if that makes sense, because I was married for a long time and I met my soulmate at 57 and he's 17 years younger. And have you seen Joshua, by the way?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I put on the top of my wish list just because I could. I want someone who looks like he walked off the cover of a romance novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so present company excluded, Eric, I am in love with probably one of the most beautiful humans ever to walk the planet. And he's a bodybuilder and he's nicer than he is handsome. And I look and going, I just dreamt, I literally was sometimes looking, I dreamt, it's been 8 years now and I still love saying that. And the other thing that's been extraordinary about that, and I'm loving your heart, I bet you had wonderful parents. I can feel your mom. Because I don't think young men are raised well enough nowadays to speak the way you do, to be as open, to be nervous about meeting a girl. Joshua, when I met him, after we flirted on the phone for a while and he came to see me again, when I asked him what he was doing there, because he'd come all the way out from Vegas to California on a motorcycle, and he said, I'm not very religious, but something told me that you need me. Now that was either the greatest line ever written or I found my soulmate. And turns out both of them were right.
Linda is, Linda, it's just a relationship where we're a lot different in a lot of ways, but that makes it good. You know what I'm saying? It's like she just, I can't help but saying that, it's just everything about her. And even though she doesn't realize it all the time, is just, like I said, she used to sit in the chair next to me. All right. And basically she can't because of her job now, with the way the world is today. God forbid you as an officer or something, you say the wrong thing, they take the wrong thing. And the next thing you know, you have an issue and a problem. And I understand that. So she had to walk away from doing the radio. But the bottom line, she's still like, even now, she was here and she was like, I'll be listening. So, just.
What is your mom? What was your mom like?
My mother's name was Artis, my Artis and Marty. And my mom was, well, first off, I was a 7-month baby. Even back then, I couldn't wait 9 months, and it was.
No, me too. I was born at 4 pounds.
Yeah, I was 2 pounds. And the love that my mother, you're going to make me cry now. The love that my mother had for me, my mom passed away at the age of 56 from lupus. And the love that there is no other person on this planet that loved me as much as my mother did. And I could, and I had my share of ups and downs growing up and everything like that. And I think I drove my parents crazy. But the bottom line, both my parents, no matter what I did, it was an unconditional love that no matter what I did or anything, it was still, Eric, you're going to be great. We love you. It was like she was always there for me. My dad was always there for me. The girls I went out with would rather date my father. It was like just they were. I can't, I grew up in a great household and, I see a lot of things that are going on in the world today and a lot of things that the kids are growing up with and such like that. And it wasn't like that when we were growing up in the 60s and the 70s. I
won't change that for anything. I'm nervous for our grandchildren. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you to just listen. Did I peg that his mom was great?
She is
based on how he shows up. But see, she lives on in you and how you respect your wife and your relationship. And that's so very important. And it's just fascinating. I'm hoping that you're passing it down as I am to my kids and generationally, that you can make all the money in the world. I've met lots of really rich kids who are completely miserable. I knew a billionaire who killed himself. It's not about that. It's the one commodity you can't get back, and that's time. And that's loving on them and letting them know how important they are, because that's probably the greatest gift you can give another human, right?
My son, Brian, actually, he just got into the Iron Workers Union. And he's been struggling. He struggled for quite a few years. He has children of his own, and he's had his ups and downs as well. I got a text message from him yesterday out of the clear blue sky. I got a text message from him, says, "Dad, you've always been there for me. I just want to tell you that I love you." And I texted back, "What do you want?" No, I texted back. I said, "I love you too, Brian," and just all my kids, the way that they talk to me and the things they say to me. And let's face it, sometimes as parents, we bend over backwards and we do probably things we shouldn't do for our kids, but we do it anyway because we don't want to see them struggle, and I have one daughter, her name is Tierney, and Tierney is she's not my blood child. When I was with her mother, I saw this little girl, 3 months old, in a car seat. And from the moment I picked up the car seat, Tierney has been mine. And even though I'm not with her mom anymore, even Linda treats her like her own child. And she's part of the family. All the kids, all 9 of them, they're like, there's not one of the kids that doesn't love each other. They get along, and it's like a great family. So that's
oh, you're gonna make me cry. All right, so talk to me about iRadio USA. So how did this come about? And talk to me about the value of local radio.
Absolutely. iRadio USA came up with a name, and I was shocked that I was able to get the domain name. As a matter of fact, it came out in the New York Post a few years after that Apple was coming out with their new radio thing called iRadio USA. I saw it in the Post, and I was like, "You're not doing that unless you're going to pay me for the name, right?" Well, they didn't want to pay me for the name, and they said, "Okay, we don't want to pay you. We're going to call it iTunes." And I said, "Okay, that's great." So I've held on to this domain name for all of these years, and we had shows that have come and gone. We still, we have the studio here in Hauppauge, and I have people that come in and do radio shows. But we're alive. iRadio USA, I changed it more to a broadcast network, because what I want to do and what I've been doing is starting local radio stations and giving the average Joe or Jane the ability to say, "Hey, you want to be in radio? Let me show you how you can start your own radio station, make it a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week local community radio station, play music on your station legally, and make money doing it." And that's what we started to do. And that's when we came up with 495 FM, because even though I can talk and do nationwide, like when I do an interview, like I'll do interviews with people and it's a nationwide thing, I still focus on that local content. And by being with the small business owners and saying to them, "You don't have to pay $16,000 for advertising. We can talk, and I can show you how I can make something more cost effective for you, okay, and bring it more to people in the local area." And that's what we started doing. And iRadio USA started back in 2005, like I said, and it's still going strong. It's been a struggle. I got to tell you, it's been a struggle. It really has, because, sometimes, everybody's so used to, and I'm not putting down terrestrial radio, but the thing is, in today's world, the people will say, "Oh, you don't have an antenna?" And I tell them, I say, "Well, listen, do me a favor, go to the FM dial and just listen for a while. And this is what you're going to hear. You're going to hear somebody go, 'Hey, do me a favor, will you? Listen to us online. Go to our app, go online.' What are they telling you? They're telling you the same thing. Right. Listen online. Look what we're doing online."
Well, one of the things about difference between listening online is that you can track listeners. You have different metrics than you have just by tuning in on a car radio.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot more value to advertisers.
And a lot of people nowadays are listening. I ask people, I'll see people on the street, even in New York City, and they're, "What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you listening to? I want to know." They think I'm going to mug them or something like that, and they think I'm crazy. But the bottom line is, I want to know what people are listening to, and people are listening to Spotify.
Well, you have to take off the ski mask when you talk to them.
Oh, I'll make a note. Hold on. Take off ski mask first. Go. All right. No, seriously.
Hey, you've interviewed a lot of amazing people. I did a little bit of research on you as well. What's one of your most memorable interviews?
Most memorable interview. Well, Darcy Donovan was really good. Burt Ward was also good. Burt Ward actually was Robin in the Batman series, and Burt actually, his wife Nancy. I'm trying to remember his wife's name. Nancy called me up after the interview, and she's like, "You made my husband cry."
Oh, wow.
She goes, "No," and absolutely, she told me that it was one of the. She said over the years they've done a lot of interviews, and she said she's never had such a great interview and be able to be himself and to talk when talking to you. And Darcy, who was in the Anchorman movies and such like that, she came on and we talked for such a while. And I actually get Christmas cards. She sent me a Christmas present. She sent me a box of candy. I told her PR guy this morning, because I got an interview I'm doing tonight with a guy that's holding a harmony festival for charity out in California. And Roger Neal called me up and he said, Eric, would you do this interview? And they send me some really great interviews. I mean, I've talked to people that one woman that dated Elvis for a year. I'll talk to anybody. A matter of fact, when your guys had requested me the day before that, I requested you.
This is such a love fest. Well, the answer is yes on my end. We'll make that happen because I give good interview. I love telling stories.
That's why I came up, because I was listening to you across the country. I came up with America's Voice. I said, I love interviewing people. It used to be called Interview with a VUE because I said it's about their point of view, not mine. And I always said, when I intro the show, I go, my dad used to tell me to shut up. And if you just listen to people, you might learn something. And then I say, no, change that. My dad was a gentleman. He never told me to shut up. He told me just to listen to people. And I learned that from my father. And that's why talking to people, I get into conversations with people, not to make them cry, but because I want to find out who they really are. People can tell me Burt Ward can say, yeah, I was Robin. I was a boy wonder. Well, Burt, tell me about your relationship with Adam West. How'd you, tell me about, I want to know, you got Gentle Giants, how did you come up? Why are you there with 50 dogs in your living room? These are questions that I ask, and that's what I think I enjoy doing. And I like to think that it makes a difference in the people that are listening.
Do you think, and maybe you have an answer through him, I loved Batman. I loved a lot of those shows in the 60s. The crazy thing about back then is those actors created such iconic characters, a Herman Munster or even the Monkees. Do you think it was sad for Burt or any of them who created an iconic character that they have a hard time moving out of that?
Absolutely. You know what? But I'll tell you, Adam West had more of a hard time with it than Burt did, because after the fact, Adam tried to do, more TV being Adam West. Burt Ward, I think, because of the way it was given to him, and as with turning into Robin, he's still to this day, as the Batman franchise just was like one of the most profitable still to this day. I don't know the exact amount anymore, but the most profitable franchise. And he has no problem coming on and talking about Batman and telling the stories and things. He got hurt so many times. When the Batmobile is coming out of the Batcave and it makes the turn. Okay, right? When it's coming out of the Batcave. Okay. So real quick story you told me, right? So as the Batmobile is coming out, he gets into the cave, in Bronson's cave there, and he sits down, he looks over, he goes, you're not Adam West. He goes, no, I'm Hoobie. I'm Adam West's stunt double. So he goes, okay, where's my stunt double? Oh no, Burt, you can't have a stunt double, because the bottom line is when we come out, the camera's going to be on you. It's 6:30 in the morning. Hoobie goes, hold on. He goes, we got to make this turn. It's really dangerous. So now he said, the inside of the Batmobile is not what you think it would be. It's like kind of rickety type thing, because they were rushing to get it together. He says, we come out of the Bat cave, and as we come around, the door of the Batmobile opens. I grab this thing with my pinky finger to try to hold on. They're dragging me on the floor. I pull my finger out. I disconnect my hand, and they have to do the shot again. But they said, Burt, we're going to take you to the hospital. He goes, okay, what car are we going to use? He goes, no, we got $80,000 worth of equipment here. He goes, we have to, you'll have to go to the hospital later. We got to do the shoot again. So that was at 6:30 in the morning. By 4:00 in the afternoon, they finally got the shot. So these are the stories. This is what I'm saying. These are the stories that I get, and talking to people, and things that people would not know if I didn't ask the question. That's what I try to do.
I think it's awesome. Now you have a new project coming out called America's Choice. What is that?
America's Voice. America's Voice. America's Voice. And that's because, and I'm being honest here, that's because of you. All right. Because when I heard the interview, and I listened to an interview you did with Jack Mize. Okay. And this is, I'm telling all your listeners, I'm not buttering up to her here. I'm telling 100% fact here. Okay. When I heard and I listened to her, and she talks about the pitch, and I even bought her course. Okay. I was in the hotel rooms at night listening to the sessions and things like that, because what she's offering, and the way she describes it, it just makes such perfect sense. And I'm going, you know what? I want to bring this to myself, but I want to bring it to other people as well. And what happens here is when you're doing what the Queen of Pitch shows you what you can be doing instead of what you're doing right now, it becomes successful, and it even becomes profitable, because it's not wasting time trying to sell somebody on something necessarily. It's taking time to be able to let that person know who you are, what you do, how you do it, where you've been, and where you're going with that. And when they realize that, hey, he's not trying to sell me, he's talking, he's making sense here. And I have to give credit to Forbes Riley, because America's Voice allows me that opportunity to say to somebody, and put it in the pitch format that I'm taught, and be able to work from there. And it's a whole different ball game when you do interviews like that. It's a whole, so that's America's
Well,
voice.
I'll layer one little tip on that, is that very often people who speak or talk, or even when you're in the other side of, hey, so what do? You think it's permission to just talk. And what most people don't think about is, what is the listener, why did they ask you in the first place? What do they want to know? And I find one of the interesting things about some broadcast radio that I've been involved in, or television, is they're just out there spouting out content. And they haven't really stopped to think, what does my audience want from me? Why do they tune in? Or, and you do this very well instinctively, make the listener on the other side feel like you're talking to them. When you get a neophyte up there who's not used to doing this, and you say, who are you talking to in an audience? They're like, the audience. I'm like, there's no such thing as the audience. There's only one person with one set of ears and usually 2 or 3 credit cards in their pocket. Yep. But it's one human being with a heart who's listening. Yep. And if you pour into them, then you multiply that. And I will tell you, people are often blown away by how, I often say this, nobody really cares what we say at some point. They do care how we make them feel.
Right.
So if you feel like you're seen, heard, experienced, you will do anything to spend more time with that person.
There is, I'm not going to say that, one of the there's a rock star that was here on Long Island. His group was really popular here on Long Island, and he had a really great song in the 80s. His son became a rock star and now is living on the West Coast. He's an amazing cartoonist, and I did an interview with him. All right. Now, it wasn't starting out to do the interview about, I wanted to know what he was doing now. Well, it turned into, him actually crying during the interview because of the relationship that he had with his father, and he got mad at me at first. Oh, you made me cry. And I said, I'm not trying to make you cry. I said, I'm trying to talk to you about, the relationship that you had. Well, he called me up about a week later and he said, I listened back to the interview. He goes, that was therapy. He goes, because nobody ever asked me that before. Nobody ever put me in that position where I could finally release some tension and cry about the things that happened with my dad. And he said, you know what? My relationship with my father improved. So sometimes we as interviewers, the way we're talking to people, we're not trying to make you look like a fool. We're not trying to make you look stupid. We're talking to you because we want to get the real, we want to hear what's going on, because not only is it helping him, but it helps somebody else.
If you're savvy, like you are, or I believe I am,
you are,
and the audience, that is, thank you. But if you know the audience is listening to you and why they tune in every week, and our viewership has grown exponentially over the years, because I started to survey people. Sometimes just ask them what they want to hear from you. Yeah. Because this is the funny thing, I've been teaching a lot of social media to people. And we're talking freaking fundamentals. When I go to your Facebook page and that little circle thing, people don't realize maybe you want to put your face there because that's how we find you. There might be a lot of Allison Smiths, and I just want to see your face. Half the people don't do that. Then you've got a banner up above on your Facebook, beautiful billboard. And many of you don't use that space. Sometimes it's blank. Sometimes I've seen the picture of a dead dog, which I'm like, put the dog on your refrigerator. But I often say, look, you guys, in life right now, because it wasn't when we were growing up, you had to hire PR agents, you had to go through hoops, but now you have free advertising. Can you imagine you're driving along a freeway at 70 miles an hour, and you see a billboard and it says, hey, I've got the best Wagyu beef, it's 100%, by the time you don't even read it, because it's white and black text. But if I've got a hamburger joint that I want you to get to, I'm going to take a giant picture of a juicy hamburger just dripping with cheese and ketchup and some onions falling off, and it simply says, hungry, turn right.
Absolutely.
So I'm a big fan of less words, more impact, and understand how to affect an audience.
I saw a billboard one time. It was a picture of like a mouse, and it said, try clicking off of this on the billboard, right? Which mean what they and now it says, try clicking off of this. It didn't say, hey, advertise with us. Hey, rent this billboard. It said, try clicking off of this. So what does a person think? Well, you're right. I can't. You got my attention. That billboard had my attention, and that's
so funny.
That's what, but that's, in today's world too, you talk about social media. One of the things, the reason we do the radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I tell people this, I said, you know what? You put a post out there on Facebook, and if it's not truly recognized, or like you say with the hamburger, that would attract people's attention, and you're going to get likes and stuff like that. But a lot of people think, oh, I want to put a post on social media and my phone's going to start ringing and everything is going to go great. No, what happens is you put a post on, I put a post on, she puts a post on, and the next thing you know, you go back 10 minutes later, that post is gone. With local radio, what I'm able to do, what I've been doing is I say, okay, repetitiveness and consistency people tune in the mornings. They want to hear that we do what we have to do, and we talk about our sponsors, and we bring it on a daily basis over and over and over and over again. And that's what local radio can do in cooperation with the social media. So, I'm not saying you shouldn't be on social media. I'm saying if you take into consideration local radio, all right, it just adds to it. And that's what really is the beautiful thing about what we can do. It's like I became an affiliate of yours, all right, for your upcoming, and I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but I'll send it to you when I do it. But I'm going to do some audio work on that, and I'm going to put it together and go, hey, you know what? This is Eric, and listen to me. I'm telling you right now, if you want to hear the truth about, and go into that type of, do the radio voice thing and really put it out there. So I'm going to be an affiliate of yours, Forbes, and I'll use my talent.
I just put it, I had a little revelation because I teach people how to make money by pitching, just using your voice. I put a challenge out because I'm doing a live event in my studio in October, and very limited tickets. And I was only just usually marketing it to my students. I didn't really need help doing that. But I put a challenge out to my students. Out of a whole bunch of literally 700 people showed up last week to a challenge. That's a lot of people on a Zoom call. And I said, guys, look, any one of you who sells, enrolls, and pitches this training, and it's several $1,000s, so it's not, like a $19 class I used to do. The first one of you to do this, I will gift that same training. So this whole thing is worth $2,000 to anybody who says yes. 2 days later, I'm still waiting like Willy Wonka. Who's got the final ticket? Who's going to win this? I can you just imagine? Right. And the funny thing about that whole analogy is a kid. His name is Connor. He's into microgreens. And, he takes class with his mom. He's probably in his mid-20s. And I'm so damn impressed right now. 2 weeks ago, this same kid who I just met in my training asked me if I would write a little something. I love microgreens. I loved what he was doing. I did some research. He said, would you give me a quote for my new book? And I wrote him a nice little blurb. 2 weeks later, guys, I love people who take action. He's holding the book literally last night going, Forbes, look, your quote's right there. And I put a whole thing of you in the inside of my book. Like, dude, I have people who haven't done a book in the last 3 years when they said they were going to. So then he and his mom call and say, I sold one. And not only did I sell one, but I sold the VIP training. And he's now won a free trip to come hang out with me. And I thought, you guys, if you do this crazy little system of enrolling people, and if you're maybe just as deliciously naive as a kid to get out of your own way, I think that's what it comes down to. I meet so many people who are stuck in the word that they can't do it. Do you ever hear people just tell you what they can't do?
Absolutely. They tell you what
Oh my God.
Yep. All the time. It's the affiliate thing. People don't realize, first off, trying to get a sponsor, all right, trying to get a sponsor. If you're dealing with affiliates and like with dealing with what I want to do with Forbes, and I'm doing it because I love what she does and I believe in her. But not only that, it's just for me, it could be a moneymaker. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have to really go out and find sponsors, and it's like the Long Island small business owners type thing. I can say, you know what? I'm going to promote this week. I'm going to promote Forbes Riley, and I'm really going to push it out there. And I want my listeners to understand that I'm talking from a person who truly believes. I'm not giving you a hype or bull here. I'm telling you, I really strongly believe that you can benefit from this particular project that she's doing. And when you really believe in something like that, and you're dealing like affiliate status, there are people that do vitamins, there are people that do everything. There's one woman out there that does this thing called what's it called? A spin gym.
I can't believe you don't have one. It's the radio DJ's best friend.
I got to get one. I'm telling you, I'm going to be doing it on the morning show, and everybody's going to be going, what are you doing? I'm going to be doing like what you did. I'm going to be doing it on oh, you want one? Here's the link.
Oh my gosh. You know what, you guys, if you're witnessing this show, and you should mark the date, it's September 18th, 2024, that you're listening to this. I give it about a month, and you're going to look at best friends here who are going to support each other's business. I am blown away by the conversation, by the depth, by the insight, and the heart of the man that I've literally just met as you have met him today. But you're going to hear a lot more from Eric, and I thank you so much for that. Wow, what an honor! Like
I said, and in all honesty, Forbes, it was just traveling. You were with me in that limo traveling across the country, and I listened to that interview with Jack like 5 times because I had to go back to it because I wanted to make sure that I truly understood and was learning from it. And you've done so much for so many people. And not to mention the fact that Mike. I wish you would stop with the home shopping network because my wife won't stop buying your thing. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. I'm just kidding.
Well, you know what is beautiful about getting to be who I am and living as this life is that, and this is for everybody out there who's struggling or suffering or it's a very dark day. I want you to understand that I am a living, breathing role model for there is light at the end of the tunnel. I can remember in the early 1999 when my dad told me that he had cancer. And within a year of that, my mom had cancer. Within 6 months of that, 9/11 happened, and my brother-in-law was a New York City fireman. We lost 9 guys when the building came down that I went to high school with. Within 6 months then I got pregnant. Within 6 months of giving birth to my children, the little boy that I raised with my husband, who was not our son, was murdered. Oh my God! You know what? You tell me your problems, and I'll tell you I don't really care. If you can go through all that I went through, and I don't know if you know this story, Eric, because it was so dark and so confusing and crazy. And then I had 2 beautiful babies. I decided to blow up my house.
I know that. Yeah, I watched you. Yep, I saw that.
And so you guys, wait a second. First, you blew up your house for the movie Die Hard. I have been, I think when I was really young, and I think like you as well, a lot of kids in the 60s, I grew up watching a lot of television. I was very much addicted. I didn't have a lot of friends. I had a lot of homework after school, and I watched you name 3, I'll name 3. Addams Family, The Munsters, and F Troop.
Okay, F Troop. Yep, absolutely. I actually I interviewed Larry Storch, and so we actually we did a charity car show here, and I had Butch Patrick with the Munster Mobile at the car show here in Long Island, right over by the Sunrise Mall, over off of Sunrise Highway. Butch came out, brought his Munster Mobile, and did that. But there's so many different shows, and my wife gets mad at me because I watch MeTV. And it was Andy Griffith Green Acres at 10 o'clock at night. I have to sit there. I don't know what it is, but it just relaxes me if I can watch Hogan's Heroes.
Oh my God, I have not seen Hogan's Heroes in forever.
When I get into a hotel, the first thing I do is I go to the remote to see if they have MeTV or TV Land. And my wife gets mad at me because she's into the CSI and all the Law and Order shows and everything like that. And she's getting, but she goes, "Oh, we're watching this again. How many times can you watch Granny and the Beverly Hillbillies?" I said, what?
Here's why I grew up so naive, because I loved Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. Okay, let's get real.
Yep, absolutely. You know what? And it's like, you talked about blowing up your house. I'll give you the quote. Ready for the quote for that? They don't give money. They don't give mortgages to people that blow up their house. So that's it. I really did listen. Yeah, but no, it's a TV in the days, even with the Andy Griffith show. How many times have you watched Taxi? I love Taxi. Just the song. Right. The song with Tony Danza driving that car over the 59th Street Bridge, that song is like, it just brings me back to a time where it just was a totally different world. It was a totally different time.
Well, it was a time when there were theme songs to TV shows that we all knew. And I know that because I used to do stand-up comedy at ski resorts. Uh-huh. And one of the things I loved doing was name that tune. And I would do it to cartoon and TV songs. There are none anymore. The Dallas and the Dynasty was like the last of that era. And then I don't know what they do for television shows now.
I'm telling you, it's all reality, a lot of reality type stuff. And, the sitcoms have, the sitcoms, the Mork and the Mindies, and the Laverne and Shirley's and the Happy.
Oh, Mork and Mindy, that was oh my gosh, you remember?
I met Henry Winkler here at a signing one time over in Huntington, and I saw Henry and I saw them on the Emmys the other night, and they got him. There was no music playing when they walked in, so Ron had asked him to go do the thing at the jukebox, and he went over to the jukebox and went into character as Fonzie. You could see his whole demeanor change. You got to watch it. They have it replaying, but he goes over and he blows on his fist and he reaches over and he hits the jukebox and Happy Days song starts playing. And then he goes, "Yep." Oh. And he does talks like Fonzie, and it was just like so many great things. How many times you can think back to times when you were younger and the TV shows and you knew where you were, who you were with, like MASH when I was a medic, MASH meant a lot to us too. A lot of those shows they hit home, and and they didn't hold back. The Waltons, my uncle was Ellen Corby's press agent, and he would send me signed copies of the Walton script. And nowadays though, I watch some of these shows and I go, I can't believe I watched that. But it was like back then, it was like, it was just great. It's part of our youth. It's part of our growing up, and we grew up with these shows. It was just amazing.
Well, it has been very interesting, the time frame that you and I are alive, as anyone who's in our age bracket, the ability to say words you could never say, the loss of innocence, the amount of sex and words that you hear that you're like, I remember a time when where all this was kind of a mystery. I don't know what it does to children when all of this is so readily available to them.
I agree. There's a lot of things out there, like Instagram came out this morning and talking about they're going to be regulating a lot of accounts, millions of accounts that are under the age of 18. And there's so much that people don't realize that goes through a child's mind when they're being subject to certain things that are on television. Or it's like when I have my 5-year-old grandson, or my 5-year-old grandson says to me, he goes, Pop, can I have your phone? Or Mima, can you get me the tablet, Mima? And he goes to YouTube and he finds what he wants to. He's 5 years old. The modern technique. I know. 5 years old, and he's on it. Do you need help? Nope, I got it. You're 5 years old. It's like back when I was 5 years old, all I was worried about was flipping baseball cards. Riding my bike outside. That type of thing. So
the biggest issue we had was finding that last piece of the puzzle because it didn't make a picture otherwise.
Oh, unbelievable. I got to tell you, my wife, you talked about 9/11. Linda was actually at Ground Zero for 10 days. All right. Wow. Yeah, she spent 10 days at Ground Zero. But just to show you the relationship that Linda and I have, people will say, well, how do you respond to Linda on September 11th? And I tell Linda, she said to me one time, she said, Eric, and she said it on the air, she said, what would you do if anything ever happened to me? And I said, well, I love you and I would miss you dearly, but I want you to know that you can rest in peace knowing that my eHarmony subscription is up to date and I'll be fine.
You and my husband are going to hang out in the other room.
Right. So what she does is she shows me her weapon and says, this would be a lot cheaper than cremation, but we have that kind of, that humor between us where we know we can joke around.
Right, so let me ask you a question.
Sure.
My audience is going, yay for you. You found the perfect woman. Yay for Forbes. What do you tell people who are single right now and just want what we have?
Don't rush it. Okay. Do not rush it. Listen, I believe very strongly there's a God. Okay. And I believe that God has a reason for everybody of us being here on this planet. And the bottom line is if you are looking hard for someone, you might find someone that you're not looking for. Let love happen to you. But the thing is, it's not going to happen if you're sitting in your home with a bottle of booze in your hand or whatever it is that you're doing at home. It's not going to happen. You got to get out. You got to find events that are real. Find events that you can do in your own community. Things where, even if you have to, some of the best places to go to church. If you have to go to church, you're going to meet really great people and you're going to really meet really crappy people too. But don't rush it. All right. I tell my kids this too. Let love come to you. All right. And you know what? You don't have to love everybody and they don't have to love you. You can make friends. Be friends with people first. Okay. Make friends. Sometimes it's better to have a really good friend than a really good lover. All right. That's the bottom line. So just don't rush it and know that there's someone that think of the amount of people that are here on this planet. Think of the amount of people that are here in the United States alone. There's somebody for everybody. And sooner or later, that person, you will find that person if you don't rush it. And take your time.
Well, I will layer on to that something that my dad told me, that you should go. I believe, and I'll ask you in a minute if you had a list. If you're a little long enough, you kind of go, there's some things I want and some things I just don't want to tolerate anymore. I'm going to put that on a list. I believe in writing down. Maybe it's because God reads over your shoulder and sees the list, but it's helpful to have one. And my dad always said, because his whole thing is you can marry rich or poor. If you you should go work in a yacht dealership. And that was his big suggestion to me, which I'm sad I didn't take. It might've been fun. I did say that to a girlfriend of mine and I was on the boat as she got married. So it does work. Where are they hanging out? Like Eric just said, if they're at church, are they at a charity function? Do they play golf? Are they at the baseball batting cage? What is it that you love to do? Because that's what you're going to do with them anyway. Where are they now? And then I said to my girlfriend too, something I thought was pretty profound. You might want to spend a little bit of time thinking, especially at a certain age, what is that person looking for and how are you the answer to his dreams? Why does he want you? Because you are passionate and loving and you take care of yourself and you think a certain way and you are a certain way. He's looking for you just like you're looking for him.
Absolutely. Yeah? The best person for, like you, Forbes, the best person for you is someone that never knew who you were. Never knew that Forbes Riley was on any TV show or anything like that, because then they really get to know. And are they falling in love with the actress and that amazing person that does the pictures, or are they falling in love with Forbes?
You know what my husband says all the time? If people knew the real you, if people knew what you really did when the door closed,
I'm sorry. Did I start? I didn't start anything here. I'm just saying. I'm making a point. What I'm saying is sometimes people look at all the celebrities. I mean, look at all the celebrities in the news that get together, and the next thing you know, they're splitting up within like 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? It's like really, you really want to know the person. And like I said, it's all about take your time. Just take your time. Look at me. I'm in this, I married my high school sweetheart. Coming out of that, we lasted 15 years, and then the second marriage didn't work out, and then I finally found my soulmate, and I'm happy, and she's happy. I tell her all the time she's happy. I tell her that. I said, Linda, you're happy.
Well, it's funny about that. No, that's a very funny statement. Hang on a second. And I think you're onto something, because I don't hear this kind of advice anywhere. When I got together with Joshua, at some point we were just, that beautiful, hot and heavy thing when you meet somebody and you're so in love or you're so whatever. And I said to him, this is the honeymoon period. This is going to end. And he looked at me and said, why? I said, why what? He said, why does it have to end? And probably the most profound thing that he said, because we very often will renew how much we love each other. And I'll say, you know what? I wake up and I say, look at you. And I say, I'm so in love with this person. And I declare that. We say it in a way I'd never said it before. And I think the more that you foster the garden, the better it grows.
Absolutely. What you say out loud generates. If you keep it inside, it doesn't go anywhere. You have to say it out loud. And you know what? Sometimes we forget to look at that person and go, hey, you know what? I love you. I really do. And then she says, did you get paid?
Oh my gosh. What are the holidays like? What are the holidays like in your house?
Oh Lord. Well, you know what? With all the kids and all the grandchildren and now the great grandchildren, it's a great thing. We look for my daughter Dakota right now in the house in Hoppock. She's into Halloween, and what she's done every year is she creates all the blow ups and the animatronics and everything like that. And this year they've spent a lot of time and a lot of money putting things together, and she's got this whole thing going on in the yard where she invites people to come and for her charity. She's into the cats and the dogs thing. But so I got all these. I walk upstairs one day into the studio, and I'm hearing this witch going, and it scared the heck out of me. And,
that was Linda, or no?
No, that was the animatronic. That was,
I know.
You know what she did to Linda? She gets these rats, like these rat statues and things like that, and she goes, "Look what I'm going to do to mommy," and she put one in the closet.
All right. We're doing live radio here. We've got 2 minutes left.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's so very funny. Oh my God, this has been such a delight spending time getting to know you. And I have a book that I wrote called The Candy Witch that I would love to gift you for your kids and grandkids, because it's basically what do you do with all the leftover candy, especially if you're health conscious, and it's a very unique idea. So I'm excited for you to hear that. And last 30 seconds only, give me your hope for the world.
My hope for the world is that people will be able to find peace and live together, because if we don't find peace and we don't live together, we don't have a world. We do not have a world.
It has been an absolute delight meeting Eric. You guys have witnessed a friendship happening live. It's kind of like this beautiful blind date, but strictly platonic. And I am loving every minute of it. Eric, thank you for letting me invade your ear space.
Thank you for
having me. Where do we find you, by the way?
You can go to www.iRadio USA. It's the letter I, radiousa.com, or my full name, Eric Martin Koppelman @gmail.com is the easiest way to get a hold of me. And Forbes, I hope to talk to you again.
You bought iTunes.com, huh?
I know, iRadioUSA.com. Yeah, iRadio.
No, I know, but I'm joking with you.
They try to steal it every year, but they're not going to get it. It's mine.
You guys, I love doing this show. It's my absolute delight and heart, and meeting amazing people like Eric. I look forward to meeting Linda and seeing the family, maybe seeing pictures of the outside of your house. iHeartRadio USA to get more about him. Of course, here we're on Stitcher and iTunes, and of course, the one and only Voice America. Please listen and tune in to us. Share us with your friends if you love what we do. And I will see you guys again next time. I'm Forbes Riley here for the Forbes Factor, focusing on health, wealth, and happiness. And today, you guys got a dose of all three. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Forbes.